What's the biggest, most common mistake you've seen outside of not going to a target school?
Outside of not deciding to go to Oxford when you were 4 years old.
Out of 100 interns, 3 or 4 make it to partner, so it's quite a challenging career.
I have seen people stab their sort of work best mates in the back.
They're not your mates though, right? They're your colleagues.
Boy's a killer. Thoughts on IB culture?
Most banks have this up or out scheme where if you don't get promoted, then most likely you will get fired.
Advice for those wanting to go into IB?
Do if you're prepared to suffer. Don't if...
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to episode 13 of the Mergers podcast. Unlucky for some, but not for us, because in the suite today, we have the subject of the hit song 6'5", Blue Eyes, Finance. That's right. It's me, your host, Rory. We don't have a trust fund anymore because Gaz has raided it since doing the podcast. But with me as ever, we have Ken and good friend of the pod, friend of the Mergers, Hector. How you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for the invite.
It's okay, bro. It's okay. Sorry, we just we've had a few drinks and dinner while waiting for the studio to be free. So it's so weird to have the camera on and everyone be nervous. You okay, bro? How's things?
All good.
Yeah?
No nerves at all. No?
Well, after an illustrious career in IB, this should be the easiest thing you've done.
Yeah, it is.
Not nervous at all.
No, not nervous at all. I can see the sweat patches already being exposed.
How has the media training worked well, I guess?
Yeah, I've been media trained, so everything should go smooth.
Yeah? Well, look, let's get into it. Do you want to give us a rundown of everything Hector's career, you know? IB onto the CFA.
Of course. Well, I was originally invited here because these guys, I think, wanted me to talk about the before and after investment banking. So I was an investment banker for 6 years, and then I moved to a more corporate job. So why I wanted to be an investment banker in the first place was my first internship was I was a credit analyst in a big bank in Mexico, and I had a pretty good manager that told me that it was probably too late for him, but for me it was just a perfect time to start developing to become like a banker. So he gave me some tips of how you can become one. So you need to read a lot of IB books, probably to start preparing for the CFA, get good grades, and yeah, I mean, apply for a lot of jobs. And yeah, I mean, pretty much one thing he told me was that you need to prepare more for the process and the interview than for the role itself, because once you land it, it's not rocket science. It's just long hours and a lot of things to do, but you first need to land it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you have any particular questions, just shoot them out.
Don't worry, we're not gonna try to get you here. Don't worry, man.
Okay.
You can
any slip ups, guys, you can edit them out.
we can edit some in too as well if you want.
Yeah, so you're a credit analyst.
Yeah,
and that's, to be fair, that's a good manager, because I know you had a good reputation in IB, so I'm assuming you're a good credit analyst too. To basically say like, look, I regret not moving over to IB. I think you should make the switch.
Yeah, I mean, credit is one of the probably most boring jobs within the finance industry, I'd say. It's practically doing analysis for if you're a financial institution, to lend to either other financial institutions or companies. And once you do all your analysis, you need to go through a credit committee, and they will probably just bring it down. So out of 10 analysis, they only lend to 1 or 2 people, in my experience. I don't know if that's common. And yeah, I mean, in investment banking, it's very different. You actually do some, besides presentations and models, you actually get to do some interesting stuff, like selling $1 million or $1 billion companies. And even, I mean, you're part of something quite big, and the experience you get working there, it's pretty exciting.
You're at a few shops, right? But you ended as an associate at Bryan Garnier in tech M&A.
Correct.
So obviously I'd imagine tech and M&A is probably one of the most desirable parts.
Yeah.
And you were associate 2, associate 3 when you left?
Well, I don't know if we count it like that, but I would say associate 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think for listeners who don't have a big understanding of IB, to break down the difference in life and roles as an analyst, as an associate, and then maybe even as a VP. Like, what would have life been if you stayed and made VP?
Right. So, well, for those who don't know anything, the career in investment banking starts as an intern. Then you move to analyst 1 to 3 or senior analyst. Then you move to associate. Then, as you correctly said, VP, director, managing director, and you end up in partner. I would say out of 10 interns, out of 100 interns, 3 or 4 make it to partner. So it's quite a challenging career. So interns, they basically do, they basically help out with some designs. They help you once they are like experienced interns, if I can say that. So an internship runs from 3 to 6 months, and they actually start being, I don't want to say valuable in month 4 or 5. But it's already too late, right? So you spend most of your time as an associate training them.
Yeah.
But they can help with some research tasks, like get me some comps, public comps particularly, or transaction comps.
And sorry, just when you say public comps, you mean if you're doing a deal on a small paper company, just find me comparable companies so
Correct.
we can benchmark against them.
Yeah, correct. So there's several sources of information where you can get this quite easily now. Before you needed to go Google it or search one by one or having some knowledge of the market. Right now, there's companies that you just with the market, you just put it as a reference word, and then you come up with some interesting comps. There are also some kind of dirty, but once you trim them down, then you get a pretty accurate sample.
And so if you do well on your internship,
Yep.
and you get an offer as an analyst.
Yeah, that's the point. We call it the conversion.
Yeah.
So once you're in month 5, in case of a 6 months internship, you get a letter or you have a talk with your manager, and then they tell you if you will get converted or not. And then if you get converted, then you're super motivated, and you will be doing pretty much very similar things, but on you will have a bit more responsibility because you will now be handling some of the interns.
Yeah.
And particularly in the company I was working for, we worked very we didn't have only one team, so we worked inter teams amongst many countries. So you had you could work with Germany or Paris or the Nordics, and deal teams are from 3 to 6 people normally, which includes a partner, MD or director, VP or a senior associate, and a couple of analysts. So as an analyst, you will be helping with the marketing materials. By marketing materials, I mean on a sell side or a private placement, when you're advising the seller or the company raising the funds, you need to go out to market to look for the either investment or the buyers. So marketing materials include a teaser, which is just a 1 or 2 pager where you put in like the most important or most relevant or attractive information of the company. With that, you go out to market. To either if you have like a specific it's either 5 or 10 companies that you go to, or it's a mass approach like 200 companies that could be interested. Also, marketing materials include information memorandums, which is a book of, depending on your managing director, where it can be from 40 to 80 page deck, where you go in detail on the company's financials and overview and the people that are there in case of the technology and all of that. So the analyst basically helps you build helps the company build this. So they're not in charge of, but they're quite active in preparing these documents. Now, as you move to associate, you have to be quite proficient in Excel and modeling. So you will be in charge of doing the DCF or the LBO. You will also be in charge of supervising and probably also...
Away from acronyms. DCF, LBO. I know what it means, but you know.
Yeah, so DCF is basically a discounted cash flow, which is bringing the present, like you forecast cash flows, then you bring them back to the present.
It's just how you value the company, right?
It's just how you value
on
the
Excel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
LBO means leveraged buyout, which is another type of model, but mainly done by private equity firms which use a lot of debt or leverage to acquire a company, which is 60 to 70% debt. So you need to be quite good in these models because you're going to be the one making them. So the VP or director is going to check it, but you are the one building it, and normally it's a big book as well. So you're the one that will present it and will defend it at the end.
Yeah. And
you're supervising the analysts and the interns, and you start having more market exposure and speaking with your client and all of that. And the VP and director basically, like, you can see the director as a junior as a senior VP, or you can see a VP as a junior director. So basically, they are the deal captains. They make sure that everything flows, and they have the interaction with the buyers or with the investors. They make sure that, the deal closes. They're pretty much the captains of the deal. And then partner or MD, they just bring the contacts, or they are in very important meetings to help with the negotiations, or it's pretty much that.
So a load of grunt work when you're an analyst, still quite a lot when you're associate, but VP, director, MD, MD especially, a bit more tennis and life becomes a bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you're like in a boutique, mid-market, or bulge bracket, but managing directors, in my experience in boutiques and mid-market, they are mostly out there originating deals.
Yeah.
So that's why they leave the director or the VP as the captain, because they need to bring in deals. Director or VP need to close them, and analysts need to do all the heavyweight work to make this an attractive company.
And so if you're a third-year university student, do you just take whatever offer you're given, or, second year, you take whatever internship you can get? Or do you, why would you want to go boutique v bulge bracket? When we say bulge bracket, obviously we mean Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Barclays, but why would you want to go to like a Brian Garnier or William Blair?
Yeah. Well, I can only tell you my experience as a Mexican immigrant who did not go to an Ivy League school. So if it's already difficult to get a job in probably the most competitive industry in one of the most competitive cities in the world, if you don't have experience or background, it's practically impossible unless you know someone, right?
Yeah.
You need to know someone to actually land a job if you are not a target school. So to give you an example, when I was at BG, I was in charge at the end of the internship applications, and we got around 1,000 applications every term, so summer and spring, and let's say 500 of those applications were actually quite good. Like, they all went to pretty nice schools or target schools at least. They had some relevant experience. So, and we were just looking for one or two interns. So to choose someone, it's quite difficult, and it's not enough to know how to do a DCF, because everyone that applies to this normally are quite good at this. I don't know if I like him, or if I think we will get along, because we will spend more time together than with our family, so we'll have to get along quite good. So, I mean, it's a lot of factors that determine if you will hire a person or not. So,
and I guess that's an interesting point too, right? I guess it's an interesting point as well. Obviously, you mentioned a bit about the process of getting in, right? But then you I remember you actually told me about some of the stuff you saw. was sitting on the other side as being the interviewer, at least handling part of the interview process. You know, what was that like? What did that look like for you running that and kind of just whittling it down?
Yeah. Well, normally banks have their own HR department, which we did as well. But for internships, I was like the first filter for these candidates. And then they had a case study, and then they had an interview with the VP, and then with the managing director. So yeah, the process is, I mean, I don't have the time to interview 500 people. So out of the 1,000, I will quickly trim down to 400 just by some keywords, or probably. I mean, it's too bad because I'm not from a target school, and when I saw a non-target school, I just took them out. Even if probably they were very smart and they had the capability and they were probably better than the others, I had to take them out because I didn't have enough time to go over all of them CVs. So I filtered down to 20 CVs somehow. I had the 20 interviews, and then I gave 10 to the VP. The VP interviewed all of them, and then first the case study. Probably out of those 20, 10 would go to VP. Then the VP would only send 2 or 3 to the managing director, and at the end they would make the choice if to hire one or the 3 of them, because that's the process pretty much.
Fratricide at the earliest parts of it. But I guess, like, what's the biggest, most common mistake you've seen outside of not going to a target school?
Yeah. Outside of not deciding to go to Oxford when you were 4 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that it's a mistake not going to a target school. It's just you make it more difficult to go on that way, right? So what I was going to say is, once you're in the world of banking, especially as an analyst or an associate, you will get probably daily emails or LinkedIn messages of recruiters trying to bring you to other people, because you become a valuable asset, because you have proven that you can be in the business, and then moving laterally is just, it's not a bet. Like if you bet for someone that didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge, I mean, you are risking a lot hiring him instead of the other 999 people. Then you don't take the risk. You hire someone that has proven to be smart, that went to those target schools, that has some experience in relevant banks for what you're doing. And yeah, it's not a mistake, just bad luck.
Yeah, it's wild. Like the amount of people I see, you know, in my bank's headquarters. Everyone knows where I work at this point. But like, you're on coffee chats with people in different divisions. Like, even if you, like, I would say, in like, a lot of people get put in a corporate bank that can't get into IB, and then just trying to lateral into IB. And they spend, like, I spoke to a guy who spent 3 years trying to lateral. It's like, geez, it's hyper competitive.
No, even in VC, it's kind of like a bit of that as well. I mean, like, I've, even from the founders, other VCs, I mean, it's kind of the point where, like, Warwick, Oxbridge, or Cambridge, I mean, they just mean nothing to me anymore, even though I went to know none of them. It's the assumption, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think a trick would be to find something in a very, very small investment bank and get the experience. 3 or 4 people investment bank that won't have the, like, as they won't be as attractive as a bulge bracket, obviously, or as a mid market. But once you start getting the experience, then you can move laterally to other places and go up from there.
Yeah. If you get in, you know, you've done whatever networking you have to do. How do you know if you're sort of bottom bucket or top bucket in your cohort? Because that's the other thing, right? Like, you actually have to perform once you're in there. And it's not rocket science, but it is hard work.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, actually, because I mean, if you ask me, it's not about who does the best slides or who does the prettiest models. It's a combination of many things, and you need to be quite sharp and solve. I'm talking about as an associate, right? You need to be able to solve problems such as the analyst messed up the presentation and it's due tomorrow. Like how do you solve it? Like be very fast in being able to fix some small stuff. So and obviously work with as many people as you can, but also don't promise them all a lot of things because you will underperform with everyone. Just tell them if you have capacity to work with them. Always be happy to work with them. Be open. Double or triple check your work before sending it, and try to never mess up. And then you'll be quite a good performer, I think.
What is it? 100% perfect, 100% of the time.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would say. And I it's funny because I heard people that when. For example, a girl from Bryan Garnier left to another company, which is one of the top investment banks, and everyone spoke about her like she was great. That's a big loss. And I didn't. I recently joined back then, and I didn't understand why everyone said that, right? So I started asking people because I didn't know her. I didn't know her, and I started asking people why was she great and what made her great, and why was she accepted into this bank? And people told me that.
You make it sound like you saw her CV and we're like, wow, like how'd she get it?
Absolutely.
Everyone
was like, she's great, and I was like, nah, I don't know.
Surely not.
I didn't know her, but apparently the difference between a top performer and a bottom performer is how efficient you are. That's it. It's not if you do the best slides, because probably there's someone in China or in Mexico or in India that will make 10 times better presentations than you for 1/100th of the price. So it's about how efficient you are and how you can manage many projects at the same time. And
so on that, when people say, oh, you've got to be prepared to do a 100-hour work week, how many of those hours are you actually working? Because obviously you do the presentation, you send it to your MD, you get the please fix, but like there must be downtime, right?
Sometimes Fridays, for example, it's not as bad as a Monday, but I mean, you work hard because no one is making you spend 3 hours on a 3-slide deck. You can do it in 1 hour, but you decide to spend 3 hours because you want to make it very good. Because you know that if you don't make it very good, you will not impress anyone and you will be out of there soon. So it's not like, as I said, rocket science things. It's, hey, can you do a teaser for this company? You have the whole day and you can probably do it in 3 or 4 hours. And you decide to spend 12 hours just to make it very nice, to make sure it has no typos. And once you start making these types of works where the first time your manager, your MD is going to check it like very very good. But then once you start delivering him or her those good jobs, he will start trusting you, and then you will start going like delivering faster.
I know you did a Ripple Labs deal, which obviously relatively famous as a crypto company that made XRP Ripple.
Yeah.
You did a deal with them. Can you run us through that, or is that going to get you in trouble?
Yeah, you're right. I was part of the deal team that advised Metaco, which is a digital asset orchestrator, which includes the custody of digital assets as well as tokenization and trading. And we sold that for $250 million to Ripple Labs, probably one of the landmark deals of my career, because it was originally a Series B raise. And ended up in a sell for $250 million. I can tell you the multiple in that deal was crazy. This was made in May 2023, where fintech multiples were not as good as in 2021. If you remember those crazy multiples, those days were over, and still Ripple bought this technology. I can tell you the rationale, I think, for Ripple to buy this company at such an expensive multiple. Mostly, the technology was one of the best in the world. It was developed by two geniuses, and they invested like 40 million to develop this technology. So it was one of the best in the market. They also had clients that Ripple could not get access to, like very big banks. I don't know if I can say the names, but I can tell you they had 60% of the crypto custodian banks. Well, custodian banks, and I mean, tokenization and digital assets are a huge market opportunity. So they bought it quite early just to make sure it grew very, very big. And yeah, I mean, Ripple, I don't know if you know, but they are cash rich, but they are cash rich because of XRP. So they issued a lot of tokens. They got the money, but they have to do something with the money. So they are investing in technology too.
But I think that's also how the SEC. I think they closed that out, right? Because that was the whole thing. The ICO,
won, I think.
Yeah, they
mostly won.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they were sitting on that cash. They couldn't really. They didn't, not knowing which way the trial would go.
Yeah.
They'd have to hold on to them.
Did I ever tell you about the time I got pitched Ripple in a beach in Fiji? Like
that sounds
10
terrible.
years ago, if not more. Yeah, so this fucking sucks. I was on a beach in Fiji. I was like 22. And this guy in a bar, it's like we were chatting about, I don't know, work and finance and something. This guy was buying loads of champagne and we were like, what do you do? And he goes, I'm a son, which I thought was the greatest phrasing for like, just my parents are rich. And then we were talking about blah, blah, blah. And he goes, and crypto came up. And he was like, between you and me, mate, you should buy Ripple. And I was like, what? He's like, XRP. He's like, I'm actually like big time in with the Rockefellers. And like, I was at their house and it's going to be huge. And
you make him sound like such a dick.
Yeah, because he was. And I said to him, I was like, bro, we're all on the same beach in Fiji. Like, life doesn't get better than this. You don't need to be big timing. And he's like, you want to buy it? And like, I went home. My phone actually broke at some point on that trip. So I lost a note. And just like 2 months later, it was just like cryptocurrency Ripple XRP soars 20 million % over the last like 6 months. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh no. Maybe he was being serious. Like,
I remember when that happened. I was in Korea and my phone had reset for whatever reason, like updated and reset. So my 2-factor authentication was in America and I couldn't exit the position. So I watched it like increase massively. I got in at 47 cents and I think it went up like the high was like $3.34. And I just kind of had to watch that go away.
No, this guy pitched it to me at like 0.01 cent kind of thing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was pretty gutted. I did the maths. Your boy could have been too good for a podcast, I'll tell you that. Anyway, c'est la vie. Got a question for you. I don't know if you're going to like it. Do investment bankers only care about the fee? Do you actually care about the deal, the price, the multiple, or do you just want to get the money in the bank?
I think some bankers do, some bankers don't.
The politicians.
I'd say the fee is quite important for the bank, but also particularly on buy-side advisory.
Yeah.
Most banks build a fee structure where you don't get paid based on how much you pay, but you get paid if you buy it and if your client acquires the company and you don't if you don't. So, I mean, you need to always align your interests with the ones on for your client.
Yeah.
So for sell side, then it makes sense for you to get paid more if the company gets sold for more money.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think most bankers do care about the client as well.
Okay.
I guess for some of those deals would be career-making deals. Like for instance, like we talk about the Ripple deal. That's like, that's something that you kind of hold on your chest, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk exiting IB. You've made your millions, you've got the Rolex, but you decide, you've done your big deals and you want a wife and kids and a different pace of life. I'll say you're in much better shape. So talk to me about life sort of after IB.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I don't know if it was the right choice or not, But right now I feel happy with what I'm doing. I currently work at the CFA Institute, so I'm focusing on education now. People in there are lovely. So particularly my manager is quite good. She's very good. I'm in the business development team, so she's a great manager and sales person. And the team in general is quite friendly. Everyone is friends with each other. So yeah, I mean, it's quite a big change. I'm not going to speak about hours or money. I mean, it's just about quality of life is much better here. I have time. The first time I left the office at 5:30, I didn't know what to do with my time. I normally sleep at 11 or 12. I had 5.5 hours to do, I don't know, whatever. I had already gone to the gym in the morning. So what do you do? Like go to the cinema or just lay down and watch memes? So it's, I mean, you need to start doing other things. So looking at projects or I don't know. I like it. I'm happy. I don't know if I will ever go back to banking. I thought about it when I was doing the transition, but for the time being, I'm happy where I am.
And obviously, you've got a lovely long-term girlfriend, Cindy. Have you noticed? I don't know how's that been? Obviously, that must have taken a bit of a strain on the relation. I know you were used to it because you've been together for so long.
Yeah.
But that must be a change to the relationship dynamic.
There has been, yeah. She's always been very supportive, so I'll give her that.
But she,
I mean, I don't know how much she likes me being home that much. She has to cook dinner for me. In banking, normally normally in banking you get like an allowance that is quite good. You can have dinner and then have leftovers for lunch the next day. So you're literally having a farmer's day every day. But I mean, I have the weekends for me and her, so we enjoy it. On Fridays, I close the computer at 5 and then I don't know, go to the pub or something. So it's quite nice. I mean, I think she's okay with it, but I don't know how much she likes it for me being home so many hours now.
Obviously, it's not like a normal job, right? It's a bit of I'd imagine a thought process and a process in leaving.
For me in particular, I thought I didn't know how to do anything but presentations, Excels, and selling companies. And that's not something that you do in a day-to-day job. I do have some like academic qualifications like the CFA level 2 and an MBA, but I don't know how valuable those are in, I don't know, other industries that I don't have 6 years of experience on. So yeah, basically I thought that because for me the perfect job is something that you enjoy and you're actually good doing it. Yep. So I didn't know what else I enjoyed or what else I was good at. So it was a good change, or it was a change for me.
I feel like I should get you to a couple of beers and just see if you can relive the glory years on the camera telling stories.
The glory years. Well, it was COVID, man.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, well, Ken and I studied our masters in 2020, 2021. So it was literally during the second wave of COVID. So I think half or a quarter of our studies were
I mean, we started in September.
Virtually, yeah.
That must have been a bit full on.
I mean, I decided to come to London way before 2020. I came here I came to London for the first time in 2017 and just fell in love with the city. So I said I needed to come back either to study or to work. So I was actually planning to do my MBA in LBS.
Okay.
But for that, they asked.
Then he went to HBS.
they asked for more requirements and time. And during COVID, we actually got a pretty good deal to study in HBS, which was 13 best ranked in the world by The Economist. Remember?
Harvard is only 13.
Well, it's another type of HBS, but
Yeah.
and I mean, the school was good. We had professors from Cambridge and Oxford and all of that. So I mean, the education part was good. To answer your question on the social part, probably we didn't go as connected as other MBA students that actually go a full year with a team. With a cohort. I think in our case, HBS is one of the most international universities out there. So I think 98% are from other countries, and I think right now most of them are back to their countries.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean. My brother always joked around that if I'm not from a target school and I'm in London and I'm a Mexican, like recruiters or companies will see HBS and then they're gonna put my CV or throw it away or just put it at the bottom of the pile. But it was not too bad for me and it worked out good.
Yeah, I mean, you've done pretty well.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I don't know anyone else from HBS that actually made it into investment banking, so it's probably not a career path that I would recommend. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you make it.
Well, for what it's worth, at least a lot of folks are. This weird thing about consulting. Everybody wanted to be a consultant, never understood it. It seemed like they had a misconception about what consulting was.
Yeah, I sort of was offered a job in management consulting at one point with someone who I'd love to get on the podcast because he's got his own firm now. Actually does a lot in fintech and crypto, which is quite interesting because you almost get convexity in your career, right? Where if crypto takes off and you're the consulting firm for it. But yeah, I don't think it was for me at the time. And I think part of it was I understood so clearly. Like this was kind of when I was like a research guy. I was like, I know what research is. And like I was talking and trying to get into banks and interviewing for like M&A roles and restructuring roles. But consulting was always just more, I never quite got like the day-to-day, the skill sets. Like I could explain what an analyst does, an investment bank, pretty clearly. I just never had the same in management consultancy.
Yeah, you're just telling people what they need. It's easier to come from an external source than a internal leadership, right?
Yeah, I mean, often, right, they're given the answer and then they go away and hey, you're going to come, McKinsey, you're going to come in, you're going to tell us this is going to be the outcome. Hector, we're going to do some quick fire questions. Take as sort of long or as short as you need. A mixture of advice and just sort of general rumors and stuff about IB. Advice for those wanting to go into IB.
Do if you're prepared to suffer. Don't if you're a pussy.
Hell yeah, baby. That's a cold open right there. Advice for those that have gotten it and are not enjoying it. And I'm specifically thinking of this of one person that I spoke to who did 9 months and basically told me that they wanted to leave but felt almost like a failure. They'd worked so hard to get there, but they didn't enjoy the demands. They weren't happy with their life and they almost already were beginning to feel trapped.
Well, 9 months is not enough. I'd say a professor once told me that life balance consists of several imbalances. So if you're not happy right now, most likely you will be in the future. So I'd tell your friend to stay for a couple of years at least and then move. So he'll have, one, the experience of actually working a lot, and two, he can show off that he was 2 years in investment banking.
Okay.
So don't leave yet. That's my advice.
Is this CFA helpful for IB?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait, come on, you knew the answer for that one.
I mean,
No, a lot of people because when I was...
He works for the Institute.
But I did CFA 1 and people were telling me, don't do any more.
Even if I didn't work for the CFA Institute, it helped me land a job where probably people from HBS wouldn't be able to land jobs. And also now Level 3 has a private markets pathway, which is very relevant for investment banking. So yes, it does.
Thoughts on IB culture?
I think it's generally quite competitive because most banks have this up or out scheme where, so if you don't make it if you don't get promoted, then most likely you will get fired. So you're competing with 10 analysts and you already know that there's only 3 or 4 associate roles. So you need to be part of those top 4 and I have a phrase that I like from Chuck Rhodes that it says, I have traded pleasantries and handshakes with some truly disagreeable people. And whatever that says about me as a person, I'm willing to admit that I will do it with a million more to achieve my ends. So I think that's pretty much what they think about. Like they do some things that they wouldn't do in other way, but they are willing to do it to achieve what they want to do.
So the ends justify the means.
In this industry, I think it does. Yes.
Interesting. So that's quite cutthroat, right? Like,
I'd say yes. I mean, there's banks that are a bit different, but I think the majority it's quite competitive, and most people would be willing to step on over other people to just get promoted or something.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've
maybe
seen
for
that.
less.
No. I mean, I have seen people stab their sort of work best mates in the back, and you say like, "Do you not feel guilty?" And they're like, "No, it is what it is."
They're not your mates, though, right? They're your colleagues.
The boy's a killer. I think you need to get back in the bank, buddy.
Well, the thing is, I guess if they're not there anymore, then they're no longer your colleague and no longer top of mind.
Yeah.
How hard is the work? Like, do you need to be clever?
I think so, yes.
Really?
Yeah. I think...
Sorry, I don't know. A lot of like, I've always, people always say it's not rocket science. It's modeling. You can learn it. You pick it up quickly.
So you would say that we do slides. So, and like a designer would do better slides than us, but they don't. And we do models. So probably a mathematician would do better models than us, and they don't. So I think only the most clever people get a job into banking. And I mean, at the end, you're sleep deprived. So obviously you start losing that edge. But I mean, yes, I mean, it's a difficult job, yes, but it's like a marathon. You get used to it once you start doing it every day. So you're a guy that has 9 months in, probably hasn't gotten used to it, but you get trained to work those long hours. And yeah, I mean, you need to be smart to come up with some, because you're advising a client that's worth millions, and you're talking to buyers that are worth probably billions or millions as well. So you need to give them good arguments to keep the transaction going.
And we all know the cliche of the guy who won't stop talking about, incoming analyst one at Goldman's. Do people care when you're going on dates, when you're in a bar, when you're talking to friends? Do people care that you work in IB?
I think so. Yeah.
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 This guy.
I think you should. I think you should use it.
You are bleeding IB at the moment.
No, I think you should use it. Just try it. Later on, when we go for bridge, you say that you work at Goldman.
Right.
Let's see if you have more.
I've got my own theme song at the moment. I'm in my purple patch. They're writing songs about me.
You need to wear the gilet though.
Yeah.
Patagonia gilet.
Maybe I'll do a sneaky. I'll be like, I'm a banker, and I'll be like investment banker, and I'll be like private. When you're in the office, you got your like 50 quid budget or whatever. What's the best order for delivery? What are we going for?
Farmer J's, I think you said.
Farmer J's.
Either Farmer J or green salads.
Gaz wants to know, how much does a nice watch, specifically a Rolex Yachtmaster, we pay our videographer far too much apparently, affect your ability to network? I'll tell you what, I'll start with something they say in private wealth: never have a nicer watch than the client. So you don't want to, because otherwise they're looking at you going, why am I paying him so much?
Yeah.
So everyone wears like Casios. And
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a great advice actually.
I don't want to wear Casio though.
it's great advice. I'm going to ignore it.
I'd say there's many people that will take you more seriously if you're well dressed, and yourself, you're going to feel more confident and go out to speak to anyone out there. So yeah, I mean, the way you dress is quite important. And I'm not saying nice suits, but if you feel confident on how you look, then you'll be confident on how you speak, and it will show. We're
going to wrap it up there.
So you're going to see my LinkedIn here and my Instagram here if you want to follow me.
Use code Hector Mendez 10 for 10% off at the CFA. Also, we'd like to announce that if we haven't specified what, but if this post gets 100 likes, then Gaz, the videographer, is going to sit the CFA 1. So, for the love of God, This man has been asking us all day about CFA 1 and he thinks it's ridiculously easy. So please, can we get 100 likes?
I'd also like to highlight that was after he queried us whether we worth more to get a Rolex or a hair transplant.
Yes. And then said, what did you say? It's like, how long is it? And I was like, 6 hours. And then you're like, oh, it's only 5 now. And you went, oh, easy. I think the textbooks will arrive stacked yay high. And you'll be like, oh, shit.
I read The Intelligent Investor. It's like halfway through.
What?
I would love for him to pass CFA 1 and we just interview him on his experience. How do you do it? I mean, you would be like, every banker would hate you.
I can't explain how amazing it would be if you started giving out business cards. Gareth said CFA, just because like it's crazy how much validation people get from the CFA. Again, no idea how much of this is making it in, but thank you for listening. Hector, good to see you. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. See you next week.